Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name is Colette and I'm here today to do the second part of the full moon in Aquarius reading that took place on the 12th of August, which I haven't actually managed to do until today, which is actually confession time, the 14th of August. So I am 2 days late and I do apologize for that. But I have had kind of some personal things I've had to attend to. So unfortunately, it's kind of put me behind being able to get these videos out. The first part of the reading I put out yesterday, so that is the tarot part, and the second part today is the astrology part. So I'm going to start the reading with the Divine Spirit or the Spirit Animal Oracle cards by Colette and Reid. There are a list of the cards that I use in both my astrology and tarot readings in the description box down below for anybody who's interested in the cards. And we have Otter Spirit, but unfortunately Otter Spirit has come out in reverse. So we'll read the reverse reading of Otter Spirit, number 42. What's Otter Spirit trying to say to us at this time? So Otter Spirit wants to tell us, I'm going to find the right page, it's the protection message as it's called here, is saying, have you been channeling all your affection to just one person or counting on only one friend or individual to hold you up, heedless of your resources all around you? You deserve support and love from many people, and when Otter Spirit arrives, you are reminded that you have a community. Somewhere is another friend who wants to experience the joy of giving to you and seeing your happiness as you receive their gift of attention, affection and kindness. It's really interesting because Aquarius is the house of community and friendships. So Otter Spirit wants you to open your eyes to see the love that is available to you from all directions. Do you believe it? Do you feel it? Reach out to someone and you will see that they want to hold your hand as much as you want to hold theirs. Love, support and friendship are available to you, so connect with community and friends. And that's exactly what the 11th house, which is where the Aquarius full moon has taken place, is all about. So over these next 2 weeks coming, the energy is all about that 11th house of community, friendship, sociability, networking. So that's very interesting that we should have the Otter Spirit come out there for us as a reminder of that energy. So first of all, let's do the cards that show what the moon is all about at the time. So today, or the full moon in Aquarius, Aquarius being a fixed sign, is saying that we are to hold on to our vision, but also fixed signs are about stability, they're about endurance, they're about steadfastness, so they are about keeping something going, if you like, holding on to something, enduring something, even if it doesn't seem like it's a possibility. Hold on to the vision. And also Aquarius is a very visionary energy in itself as well. We have the actual full moon here, which energy is always about surrendering to the divine. So the full moons are always about culmination energy, releasing, letting go of something that's no longer viable, no longer working in the same way. And sometimes when we release something as well, it actually helps to bring in the thing that we're trying to bring in, because we've actually let go of the attachment or the need for it, or the kind of belief that it's never going to happen. And in that release, we actually allow ourselves to make space for it to happen. So it seems like a contradiction, but it actually works that way. So the full moon in Aquarius is saying show the world the real you. So this is about your authenticity. This is about being true to yourself, being true to who you are, what you believe, what is right for you. And of course, Aquarius is the water bearer. And during the time of the full moon, we had another super full moon. And when we have a super moon, the emotions are always higher because the moon is closest to the earth as well. Also a time when we can see more earth activity, as in volcanoes and earthquakes taking place as well. So I'm going to call this reading Super Full Moon in Aquarius, Quantum Shifts in the Great Awakening. And for those of you who haven't been on my channel before and don't know what it's about, I write it out first because there's a lot of information, and then I read it off of my laptop in the form of a blog. And I will just say as well that up here behind me, and this card is being particularly difficult at the moment, but these cards are predicting or showing the energies that we have. So we've got the moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is all about genius. I always think of it as genius, inspiring, sudden, shocking, awakening energy. In the 11th house, as I was saying, friends, community, sociability. It's an air element, so it's to do with the mind, the thinking, but because it's the last air element, it's also the higher mind, the higher consciousness. And the sun itself, of course, which is opposing the moon, which is why we have the full moon, and the sun is the spirit, the drive, the energy. And then on this side I have the Grand Cross, because we have a grand fixed cross at the time of this full moon. We also have still the North Node, Uranus, Mars, and the South Node, and they are helping to create this Grand Cross along with the Sun and the Moon as well. So the divine masculine sun energy opposes the divine feminine moon energy during the time of a full moon. And this super full moon is the fourth super moon we are experiencing in a row, which is taking place in the fixed air sign that is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus, the humanitarian, visionary, future, forward-looking Aquarius. It is happening here in the UK on the 12th of August at 2:35 hours, and in other parts of the world it was the 11th, so it was the day before. So check out your own location to find out what time this will be for you, even though it's probably too late to be doing that now, but it's still interesting to know because you can then check it out with your own chart. And if you are interested in your own chart, there will be a link in the description box down below for you to check out and to kind of have a look where the full moon took place, because it will still have a bearing over the next 2 weeks as well, up until the new moon that will be taking place in Virgo. So everyone, no matter where they live, will experience this supercharged full moon at 19 degrees 21 minutes of the water bearer. And if you have any planets or points at the 14 to 24 degrees of Aquarius, this is going to be full on intensity. And because of the nature of the astrology, all of the fixed signs are going to be feeling the immenseness of this. This includes Leo, where the ruler, the sun, is shining his light from at the same degree in that 180 degree opposition energy. Taurus, where we are still experiencing the tail end of the rare triple conjunction in 90 degree angles. And also the T-square with the sun and moon with Uranus, the North Node and Mars. And last but not least, we have Scorpio, who also has a T-square with the sun and the moon. and this time it's with the South Node. So altogether this is creating a powerful fixed cross. So if you have anything between the 14 to 24 degrees, but especially 17 to 20 of any of the aforementioned fixed signs, then check out where these fall in regard to the placements of the houses, as this will be the energies most activated at this time in your personal chart. For the collective, however, we are mostly focused on the 11th house of friendship, our tribe, networking, social media, new ways of relating with the world. It is the house of the collective, the many, as well as the individual within. It is also the hive mind consciousness, also the individual within that. So the individual within the collective, it's very much about individual energy, which is why Aquarius can be seen as quite an eccentric and wacky kind of sign as well, because it wants to stick out and be individual, be seen. But it is also the hive mind consciousness as well, which is where everyone must conform for the greater good, like cogs within the system that keeps everything turning like clockwork. But beyond that, there is the rebellious, eccentric, maverick, some might say genius energy that always looks to improve the future for the whole in ways that have yet to be manifested in the physical form from the higher conscious awareness. So these can come through at times like this as bolts of sudden inspiring thought, where you kind of just suddenly like get one of those eureka moments that you don't know where it's come from, but it can be one of those things that can totally change the direction of your life, and not just one individual's but many people's lives as well. So at the time of this super full moon, we have 6 planets in fixed signs, along with the fixed grand cross as well, which is one heck of a huge amount of fixed energy, which is helping to keep us grounded as we move deeper into the chaotic, revolutionary, unstable, volatile, eruptive, seismic and fast moving period of time from now until February 2023. So this full moon fixed energy is helping to kind of ground us into the upcoming chaos and keep our feet on the ground, so to speak. So this is the quickening, accelerating energy that I have mentioned a few times previously, as Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since March 2019, and not long after the major upheavals in our safe, secure and in many ways dependable lives became totally true to the nature of Uranus, turned upside down. Of course, other astrological factors also made a difference, but Uranus in Taurus has seen massive changes in our lifestyles, and it is not over yet. As this combination of fixed, predictable Earth and the lightning bolts of unpredictable change will be ongoing until 2026. So this is really kind of like the kind of extra boost to that, if you like. This full moon in Aquarius is giving it that extra kick. So since the new moon in Leo, we have been experiencing one of the most rarest astrological events of our lifetime, and we have been having a few of them over the last 3 years. So we've had Black Moon Lilith and Neptune conjunction in September of 2019, Pluto Saturn conjunction in January 2020, followed by the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction at the end of that year. We've also felt the challenges of restrictive and controlling Saturn battling it out with freedom-loving individualistic Uranus throughout 2021, as they squared off with each other 3 times, which isn't over yet. All of these are major life-changing and history-making events that occur in cycles over different periods of time. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn last took place in 1518, so roughly 500 years ago, which is a big chunk of history for us to clear out our karmic debts, both individually and collectively from. However, even that pales into insignificance when we take a look at the last time this rare triple conjunction in Taurus with Uranus, the North Node and Mars took place. We are talking 2,300 years back. What is really fascinating about this, at least for me, is that it corresponds with a time period that relates to the Great Year, or the Great Cosmic Clock, and I hope that you will also find this quite fascinating as well. So the Great Cosmic Clock, if you haven't heard about this, is to do with the vernal equinox, which is the 00 point of Aries. And what happens is, and this is known as precession, and this point in the sky shifts every 72 years. So every 72 years, that 0 point of degree will shift 0 degree of Aries will shift by 1 degree. So slowly making its way backwards through each of the constellations as well. It moves backwards, not forwards. So if we take the number 72 and times it by 30, the number of degrees in each sign, we get 2,160. Which means that this triple conjunction last happened as we were getting nearer to the closing out stage of the age of Aries. And just quickly as well, if that's said to be like the 2,160 years is the time for this vernal equinox point to move through one whole sign of the constellations. And so if you take that number and times it by 12, because there's 12 constellations, it comes out to something like 25,290 or something like that, 190 maybe. But we're looking at the smaller number, so that would be the cosmic year, would be that bigger number, the 25. It's closer to 26,000, I do believe. So that is a complete cosmic year. So the last time that this conjunction took place was prior to the age of Pisces, which we're in at the moment. So it would have been during the age of Aries. And so now, as we're getting closer to the closing out of the age of Pisces, we are experiencing this massive upheaval energy once again, changing out the old paradigm energy of that age, of the age of Pisces, in order for the new to arise. So previously it was during the age of Aries, so it was clearing out that Aries energy for the age of Pisces to come in. So this full moon in Aquarius is bringing through an excess amount of new thinking Uranian higher conscious energy and stamping it with this grand fixed cross well and truly into our 3D physical domain as well as our psyche. Sorry if you can hear that squeaking, it's one of my kittens. I don't know where it is, but it's squeaking around somewhere. So the moon is conjunct the ruler of this 3D domain, and that is Saturn, who, as I said earlier, is also one of the, or is the original ruler of Aquarius. So he is also a ruler of Aquarius, and he is at this time, has been and will continue to be in a long drawn out T-square with both the moon's nodes, north and south node, which are also part of this grand fixed cross energy as well. So Saturn being the focal lens through which we are experiencing this opposing energy of our karmic past, because we've got the moon north node and the south node who are always moving opposite each other, and they also always move in reverse as well. So they're always opposite at the same degree in the opposing signs at the moment, Taurus and Scorpio. And Saturn in Aquarius is square, creating that T-square So Saturn is square with both of those nodes, creating that T-square energy. So the energy goes between the north and the south, but it finds its kind of release point through the Saturn energy at this time. And so Saturn being the focal lens through which we are experiencing this opposing energy of our karmic past on one side, which is the south node energy, what we need to release and move ourselves away from, which in Scorpio is mostly the desire for personal power through shady, shadowy means, secrets, revenge, abuse of money, sexual domination, subterfuge, any means to a desired outcome. And I think we're kind of really seeing that highlighted at this time as well. And on the other side is our karmic future, the North Node, which is in Taurus, and it's what we are moving towards to integrate, evolve and grow into, that which is calling our soul. So this includes our values, what we value, why we value it, what we prioritise, desire, enjoy, what makes us feel good and nurtures us on a deep inner personal level of taking care of the self and also of knowing our own self-worth as well. So Saturn in Aquarius is in the sign of the collective, and he's conjunct the super full moon, which represents the collective soul and emotions of the people. The moon is at this time at her closest point to the earth, hence the super full moon, and this represents, so all our emotions are and our intentions as well are all magnified at this time. So Saturn is also known as the Lord of Karma, action and reaction, and in this T-square with the moon's nodes, he is the balancing point between our deepest fear versus our deepest desire. Of course, the moon is also in this T-square energy as well, with the north and the south node, because it's all being created as that grand cross. So if you break it down into T-squares and then put it back together again, you get this grand fixed cross. So yes, so Saturn is also known as the Lord of Karma, action and reaction, and in this T-square with the moon's nodes, he is that balancing point between our deepest fear versus our deepest desires. And sometimes our deepest desire, our deepest fear being the south node, the Scorpio energy, and our deepest desire being the Taurus, the Venus energy, but sometimes our deepest desire can become our deepest fear as well. So that is also something that we need to be aware of and not to give it any energy. So this, I believe, is the sum of this equation. Aquarius is an energy of manifesting from a place of vibration, wherever we place our attention. Saturn is giving us the ability to choose for ourselves as to what will become our personal reality. Only the manifestation will be connected to our own personal vibrational frequency. So again, it's that fear or desire, fear or love energy. What we believe we deserve versus what we believe we shouldn't have or don't deserve to have. So helping us with this is a beautiful trine from Venus, the goddess of beauty and personal love, the ruler of Taurus, where the triple conjunction is just now coming to an end, although its effects will be felt far into the future. Venus is now at 0 degrees 21 minutes of Leo and has been making contact with a retrograde Neptune in Pisces since the 2nd of August, which has been bringing in a sense of unconditional spiritual love, surrendering and trusting in something beyond our knowing. For some, this could include a need to sacrifice one dream or desire in order to receive something much greater, and discovering along the way that this is only possible by transcending the games of the lower vibrational mind and instead aligning with the heart and listening to the divine source of everything within the self. So there's also a lot of creative energy within this trine as well with Venus. and Neptune. Venus, of course, being the lower level of physical love, Neptune being the higher vibrational level of spiritual love as well. But Venus being very creative energy, and Neptune also being very creative, artistic energy, musical, art, all that kind of thing could be very much a part of this kind of release energy in a way, releasing our emotions through this kind of medium as well. So there is another interesting dynamic happening here, as Venus has also been opposing retrograde Pluto at 26 degrees 49 of Capricorn since the 4th of August. And Pluto has also been the rule of Scorpio, which is where the South Node is, has also been in an ongoing sextile with Neptune as well. And it feels like we are being asked to look beyond the illusion of death and surrender to the creative knowing of the recycling of our soul via the process of rebirth, and that there is no end and no beginning, just the continuation of spiritual love, soul growth and evolution. And I think that's also something that we're also, as we come to the end of this kind of Piscean age of mass hypnosis and kind of a lot to do with religion and the ideas being controlled through a certain mindset, shall we say, because it's also very hypnotic energy, Neptune as well. I think there's going to be a kind of awakening to the fact that there is no ending, there is no beginning, that, you know, that we've been kind of lied to and deceived and kind of kept in the dark about this fact that the soul is constant, ongoing, it never dies, it just recreates, it just comes back in some other form and continues on. So also adding to this deeper mystery are the hidden aspects being made with Sedna, and she's the Inuit girl who followed her heart and by doing so unwittingly became goddess of the ocean, which of course is also Neptune energy, Neptune being the ocean. So the story of Sedna is symbolically saying she became connected energetically to her own divinity and thereby transformed into the whole of all that is, surrendering and letting go of all that had been. So Sedna is still in the last anaretic 29 degrees and 52 minute critical point of Taurus. And she is conjunct Mars now at 25 degrees 2 minutes of the Bull, and both Sedna and Mars are sextile to Neptune on one side, and Sedna is also sextile to Venus on the other side. So in between Mars and Sedna we find the fixed star Algol, which is the Medusa's head at 26 degrees and 10 minutes. And this triple conjunction, which is another triple conjunction that is taking place in Taurus at this time as well, which is a less known triple conjunction, but Sedna, Mars and this fixed star Algol are all trine with Pluto. And so Algol is the most inauspicious star in our known galaxy. According to the ancient astrologers, it is associated with unfortunate violence and death by decapitation, and I have gone more into depth in other videos that I've done as well about the star Algol and how it's connected to Medusa. It's actually just the head of the Medusa that's being held by the hero Perseus, who slew the Gorgon, the snake-headed beast that was once a very beautiful young woman, but the head itself still remained very toxic, very poisonous, and even a drop of that blood was very, very dangerous, which is why this star is known as being such a dangerous star. And there's also a link here with evil spirits as well, and it also has a strong connection with alcohol, which is where we can often, figuratively speaking, lose our heads because of the connection with decapitation as well. And we can do things that go completely against our character. And some would question, you know, does that release what we suppress by trying so hard to fit into a certain image as well, when we get to that point of losing our heads and kind of seem to act out of character? But is it because we have suppressed things for so long that they just suddenly, we lose that inhibition and we just do wild things that can get us kind of into trouble? But we do them because we've had to kind of fit in to a certain way of thinking and being and behaving. So this feels like it could be a dangerous trigger point moment, as Mars is also part of the T-square with Saturn, along with both the Sun and Moon, which includes his conjunction with the unpredictable energy that is Uranus, which is still conjunct the North Node. So there is a lot of deeply sensitive and unknown energies still at play here with Sedna, Neptune and Pluto, all very mysterious energies, the three of them, very mysterious, very unknown energies, all to do with change, transformation, death, rebirth. And so they're all very slow moving planets as well, and they're all being activated by the fast action of get things done now, in a style of act now, question later, headstrong Mars. Ideas that have been ruminating behind the scenes could be forced out suddenly and unexpectedly onto an unsuspecting public, and truths could explode out of nowhere, as Mercury is now in Virgo, the sign of details matter, at 12 degrees and 18 minutes. And I wrote all this before what happened in the US took place as well, so I found that quite interesting, that that was a very sudden kind of shocking event that people were not expecting to happen, and it has kind of been ruminating behind the scenes as well, unexpectedly forced out. So but it could also be the downfall of those who are responsible for that action as well, because of this fixed star algol as well. So Mercury is trine with the North Node, which means he is also sextile the South Node, and both of these connections will become stronger as he moves forward, helping us to scrutinise and discern the truth from the BS. We are going to have thrown at us again, and I would add that this is particularly going to be in the arena of our health as well, because Virgo is to do with our health, our body, healthy mind. So Mercury is speeding along now, and he's going to be entering his shadow period for his second retrograde of the year on the 21st of August at 24 degrees and 25 minutes of Virgo. And he too will be trine Algol and Pluto at the time. And again, when he stations direct on the 4th of October, and Pluto will also be about to do the same on the 8th. So Mercury's going to station on the 4th of October, Pluto's going to station on the 8th of October. Mercury's going to be trining both Algol and Pluto at the time when this happens. So Pluto will also be trining Algol and Mercury. So there will also be a fixed grand trine there as well. And this is really going to kind of magnify this energy, because when planets slow down to station retrograde or station direct, their energy is always magnified, and it magnifies the meanings of the planets and the houses and the traits of the energies as well. And so we need to prepare ourselves to kind of you know, be prepared to and expect to hear as well, because it's Mercury that we're dealing with here as well. Expect to hear some disturbing and possibly heavy going news around this time period as well. Things may not appear as they seem as well, because Mercury can be the trickster energy, and particularly when he's in that kind of in-between energy of not being retrograde and not being direct, so being stationary, he can really be that. And also while he is in retrograde as well, he can also be that trickster energy. So we need to kind of watch out for that as well from early October. And so the Sun in Leo at 19 degrees and 21 minutes is making a trine with the asteroid Medusa, which again is that energy of the venomous poison snake-headed beast. And again, I've spoken quite a bit about her previously. But she is almost exact at this time with this Sun in Leo energy, as she's at 19 degrees and 20 minutes of Sagittarius. And Medusa is linked to poisons, toxins, and particularly snake venom. Both the Sun and Medusa are making a grand fire trine with Eris in Aries. And Aries is to do with the head and also to do with the blood as well. Like Aries can be known as being hot-headed and hot-blooded as a sign, but it's also to do with our blood as well. So there could be also something to do with blood and DNA being kind of brought to the surface or out into the open at this time as well. But Eris is the feisty nonconformist, and at 24 degrees and 59 minutes, she is also retrograde again. She goes retrograde a lot. And at this grand fire trine, she is going to add an extra level of heat to the drama that is already unfolding in the world around us. Eris, so we are literally in this grand trine fire energy at this time as well. So that is literally adding an extra level of fire and heat, and also creativity as well, because fire is a very creative sign, but also it can be it can heat things up to the point of kind of like, if you think of certain let's think like things tend to come to life more, shall we say, when there's heat involved. Tempers can fly, that kind of thing, but it can also have a lot to do with like illnesses and things like that as well, because things, like I said, things come to life at that time. So Eris is still continuing to square with Pluto as well. Pluto is also being quite highly activated and highlighted at the time of this Aquarius full moon. And she has been in this square with Pluto since 2021. And again, she has also squared off with Pluto 3 times. So this is really pushing this view of us as a sovereign individual versus the top element of the pyramidal structure of control, Pluto in Capricorn. So the need to break away from restrictions and break free in order to be ourselves, no matter how radical an idea this may seem to others, has been building up, particularly as we haven't had a real outlet for this energy with all the restrictive lockdowns. So now with this grand fire trine and Medusa in Sagittarius, the seeker for freedom, truth, justice and pushing beyond the boundaries, also being fired up by the sun in Leo, it's given us courage, spirit, strength to tap into that inner rebellious and the kind of bigger picture seeking, questioning side of Sagittarius energy. Along with that Leo courage to actually kind of make it happen. And so Sagittarius doesn't just accept the limitations of what we are told is true, but seeks to find the truth. And over the coming weeks and months, a lot more is going to be revealed that is going to shock and awaken and send the collective looking for answers that will give them even more reason to be shocked and awakened from their slumber, mass hypnosis and complacency. So Uranus at 18 degrees 51 minutes is once again in his challenging square with Saturn, as well as being the powerful focus point of attention in the intense T-square with the Sun and the Moon. This is, like I've mentioned before, the final battle between the dying old paradigm of the establishment, the traditional, the ingrained, cemented, structural form of our repeated and regurgitated thoughts and beliefs. Beliefs which have created the pyramidal controlled from the top society we now all live in, which have helped build and sustain empires. The 3D Saturn-ruled environment we have become so accustomed to is on the verge of collapse. And as the ruling classes continue to create hell on earth, more people are going to awake to their own slavery. As Pluto, the great destroyer, is still making his way slowly through the Saturn-ruled Capricorn house, he has been digging down deep into the very foundations of our society since 2008, making sure he uproots everything that is no longer viable. Pluto has twice hit the historical point of his own return in the USA's natal chart from 1776, and during this Pluto retrograde he has remained in contact with that 27 degree and 33 mark, which is where Pluto was at the time of the signing of the declaration, and he hasn't left that point, that 27 degrees 33 point, by kind of 1 degree, even when he went past that to, I think he got up to about 28 degrees 30 or something, and then he's kind of retrograded back again. So he hasn't really gone past that 27-33 degree mark, even now when he's retrograding back to 26 degrees as well. He's still connecting to that very important point in the USA's natal chart. And so he's really highlighting this area, and in the chart of the US, this placement of Pluto falls within their Taurian second house. And this is where Pluto is destroying, transforming and evolving all those Capricorn related issues. And he's taking place through the monetary systems, the housing systems, the farming systems, the banking systems, and all the resources which are ultimately all manipulated and controlled by the corporations and big banking cartels of mass corruption and greed. So all of that is the Taurus second house energy, the farming, agriculture. It is fixed earth energy, Taurus. Banking systems, monetary, and Capricorn is all to do with kind of dynastic families, government, control systems, monarchies, all that kind of thing. And so in present time, we find Uranus also in the Taurian second house, which is placing a massive amount of emphasis on all of the above mentioned, with the Uranus energy of chaos, sudden unexpected changes, all leading eventually to breakthroughs and ultimately breaking free from the mental chains that generationally have bound us to Saturn's restrictive human-made rules and regulations. Uranus is about to start slowing down as he gets ready to turn retrograde on the 24th of August, once again magnifying this need for freedom even more intensely. As he begins to travel backwards, the square between himself and Saturn is going to become tighter and tighter, and it will not become exact as such, like to the minute, but it will become exact to the degree, and they are both destined to reach the same 18-degree area of Taurus and Aquarius on the 1st of October. And it just so happens that the 18-degree point, of course, is where that triple conjunction of Uranus and the North Node and Mars took place as well over these last couple of weeks. And so once again, we're going to see a reactivation of that energy, which is going to really kind of speed things up even more yet again from October onwards. We're going to see another kind of like another burst of kind of that quantum shifting, fast moving energy coming in. And so from late September until early October, when Saturn stations direct, square that 18 degrees with Uranus. So that's really when we need to be aware of what's happening around us, and also to make sure that we've got enough of what we need to see us through this difficult time that's coming up as well. So that could be money, that could be food, like all those things that you're going to need in order to be able to get through a time of total chaos, because it is going to be very, very, very chaotic, a time when possibly rioting in the streets and just like things exploding all over the place. And that also can also include the earth shifting at the same time as well, adding to all of that. So we do need to be really careful. I know that Iceland has got, I think it's 2 volcanoes that are erupting at the moment. I could be wrong, they could just be 1, but I think it's 2 at this time. And then there's lots of other weather kind of disaster and chaos happening around the planet at this time as well. And this is mostly being kicked off by this Uranus energy in Taurus. And so at the time of this full moon, all the outer planets apart from Uranus are in retrograde and reflective mode, going back over the same ground we have already crossed this year, looking deeper into the events we have already lived through, re-evaluating and reassessing where we are collectively and individually, is very much a theme of this super full moon in Aquarius, a time when she is at her closest point to the earth and reflecting more of the sun's light. However, Aquarius is all about the future. New ideas, new visions, higher truths. We are communicating, whether we know it or not, with the divine source of conscious awareness to bring the future into the now moment, which this grand fixed cross, again, stabilizing energy, is also helping us to do. A grand cross can also show that we are at a crossroads, literally, or at cross purposes as well. So that's another interesting aspect to the grand cross sign. And we've had a few of them lately as well. So when Uranus stations retrograde, we will have 5 energies, 6 if we include Chiron, all retrograde. Uranus entered his shadow on the 7th of May 2022 at 14 degrees and 56 of Taurus. So he's going to return to that same 14 degrees point January 22nd, 2023. And he was stationed direct there, and anything that was supposed to have changed or almost changed but didn't fully from that time of the 7th of May up to the 24th of August is going to go through sudden and rapid bursts of quantum shifting. Anything, anybody, or any place that is not meant to be in our future will just be removed by choice or by circumstances changing. By the time we get to January, things will look and feel very different. Oddly enough, Aquarius is in a battle of conflict with himself, as both Saturn and Uranus create ongoing challenges for us to decide. Do we stick with the old, the tried and trusted, but stagnant and dead end road, or do we move towards the new, the untried, the seemingly impossible and yet tantalizingly familiar? For those who came here in order to bring this new wave of conscious thought, onto the earth and into the collective psyche as humanitarian beings of the whole, the answer is becoming clearer and clearer. So another very powerful connection being made by both the Sun and Moon during this super full moon is with retrograde Chiron, who at 16 degrees 11 minutes of Aries is in a trine with the Sun and a sextile with the Moon. So once more we are experiencing a deep healing process, and this process is taking place with the Sun and the Moon, like the divine masculine and divine feminine, which is encouraging and supporting us to go with these changes, to go with this healing process, even if it is a painful experience, to lean into it rather than to pull back away from it. So the only other energy that Chiron is connecting with at this time is Black Moon Lilith at 13 degrees and 16 minutes. She is square to Chiron in Cancer. And Black Moon Lilith herself is also still square with retrograde Jupiter and retrograde Colete, also in Aries. So the pair of them remaining conjunct at 8 degrees 23 minutes and 26 minutes respectively will continue to travel through the sky together. So both Jupiter and Colete have gone retrograde together, and they are both going to be retrograding back. I'm not quite sure how far back Colete is going to go because I haven't checked that out yet, but I will do so. Jupiter is going to go back across that 0 point of Aries and enter back into Pisces as well. So this energy of Jupiter and Colete together is going to be bringing up more, and also with Black Moon Lilith connection as well, bringing up more of that nefarious, taboo, dark and disturbing revelations into the light for us to acknowledge, as both Jupiter and Colete will still remain opposite Make as well, who's at 7 degrees and 6 minutes of Libra. Black Moon Lilith is still square this creator god of cosmic law and order on the other side. So Black Moon Lilith is square to this energy. Jupiter and Colete are square to Cancer energy. The Black Moon Lilith, which is where Cancer is. And so this energy of all of this is creating this T-square with Black Moon Lilith as the focus of energy. And with the Make energy there as well, it's reminding us that, you know, cosmic law and order, that you don't escape it, that nothing is above that divine law. You can't escape that divine law on a bigger scale of things, regardless of what we may appear to see in our earth-based justice system as well. It's like that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about on a much grander scale of justice. And so all this energy together, creating this T-square with Black Moon Lilith as the focus of energy, is also sextile the North Node and Uranus. So again, we need to be prepared for anything shocking and revealing of the shadow type of energy to surface unexpectedly. And so Black Moon Lilith has now broken away from the center that relates to sudden death through poison, toxins and venomous substances, Pholos, and okay, so those substances that particularly get into the blood as well, that which is Pholos the centaur, who died due to being stabbed by an arrow that was dipped in the Medusa's blood. And so Pholos, who now having turned retrograde is at 4 degrees and 39 minutes of Capricorn, he is now in a T-square with Jupiter and Celestia in Aries and Makemake in Libra. So we used to have this grand cross with these energies, but because Black Moon Lilith has moved forward, she's broken away from Pholos because he's also going backwards, but he's still connecting with Jupiter and Celestia in Aries and also in Makemake in Libra, creating yet another T-square. And so Pholos in this T-square is the tipping point of this seesaw energy, this backwards and forwards energy between Makemake and Jupiter and Celestia. And so again, we have to remember that Jupiter is the energy that magnifies everything as well. So he is helping to bring things up, or Celestia is helping to bring things up to the surface from the depths. And Jupiter is putting it out there, magnifying it, making sure that it's not missed. It's like, it's seen for what it is. Because Jupiter wants the truth, it wants freedom, and knows that freedom can only come through the truth of something. And Makemake is that, like I said, that cosmic law and order as well. So, and we've got some very interesting connections coming up over these coming months as well with all of this energy. So it's not over. And so we have not heard the last of this need to be injected like guinea pigs in a biolab either, being experimented on. But neither have we heard the last of the consequences for those forcing this dangerous substance on us. And also, I would also like to add as well, I feel that there's going to be a lot more coming out within kind of legal systems being kind of questioned, or things just being questioned more about whether it works for us or whether it's not working for us. That idea again of that kind of two-tiered justice system, I think, is going to become very, very prevalent at this time. So the Sabian symbol for this particular 19 degrees of Aquarius is a forest fire finally quenched. And it says this shows rising to the occasion and quenching the flames of fires that can leap out of their boundaries and take control of your life. Enthusiastic drive and zeal can sometimes set off an almost uncontrollable and destructive chain of events. You may have been caught up in such a situation, emotional or physical. There is likely to be no choice but to fight for control and minimize the destruction. Any efforts will be at last successful. You are likely to come out of some life-threatening experiences with a new sense of commitment or a better understanding of the consequences of your actions. And so the positive terms for this symbol are exuberant feelings after struggles, running out of fuel, calming down, the drive to control situations, a relief after long battles with unruly emotions or thought, and fire hoses. All very interesting considering what's happening at this time. So giving up and losing, self-defeating, delight in drama, situations that produce rubble, destructive passions or emotions, smoke, one-eyed focus and mania. So these are the more negative aspects of this Sabian symbol and of this particular Aquarius full moon energy as well. So this also will last for the coming up next 2 weeks as well. This is kind of setting the scene, shall we say. And it does seem quite an appropriate Sabian symbol, considering all the heat that we are in at this time in more ways than one. So I'm just going to pull a Divine Feminine card to see what we get, and we get Marguerite Poré, the Mystic of Divine Love. And it says, love is divine and I am nothing except love. Very beautiful card. Marguerite Poré. Can't say I've ever heard of her. Where are we? Page 17, I think. Page 17, where are you? Okay. Okay, so the Mystic of Divine Love. She is the essence of divine love. Sorry, my throat's a bit raspy. And the truth that all we are is love. Marguerite was a French Beguine born in the mid-13th century. The Beguine movement was a spiritual revival among women in the late Middle Ages that emphasized an imitation of Christ's life. These Beguines, or holy women, lived together in semi-monastic communities. They were not nuns, they didn't take formal vows and could leave at any point, but they lived with shared spiritual intention. Marguerite wrote a spiritual masterpiece titled The Mirror of Simple Souls. It reveals the spiritual process she went through to be transformed by divine love. I am God, says love, for love is God and God is love, and this soul is God by the condition of love. Quote, unquote. So, of course, for those who don't particularly like the use of the word God, you can always change that to source or universe, or whichever word you prefer to use. So by 1306, the Bishop of Cambrai deemed her work heretical and condemned it to be burned in Poret's presence. Even so, it continued to circulate widely throughout the Middle Ages, and in some ecclesiastical centres it was embraced as an almost canonical piece of theology. Poret was ordered to stop circulating her book and to recant her ideas of God as love, but she refused. And she sounds like a woman who was ahead of her time, up against the patriarchal system. Marguerite was arrested as a relapsed heretic and a free spirit, which included the belief that humans could achieve union with the divine. Yep, we're still there today. Interesting. The Catholic Church conducted an unprecedented trial to decide her fate. Like Joan of Arc, much of her life is recorded because of the transcripts of her lengthy trial. She maintained her truth, that the soul has no other will but God's, and that when the soul is united with God's love, this state of union causes the soul to transcend the contradictions of this world. She suggested that we can be transformed by divine love into love itself, which isn't separate from God, and that ultimately no outside source is needed in this transformation. It's between the soul and God alone. Marguerite was burned at the stake in 1310. There's a surprise. The Mirror of Simple Souls continued to gain in popularity, but was distributed as an anonymous text until 1946, when Romana Venere identified Latin manuscripts of the mirror in the Vatican. Marguerite's name returned to the text when it was published for the first time in 1965. Not that long ago. So when your soul selects her card, there's nothing more powerful than remembering that we are love. And there's nothing and no one outside of us that is needed in order to realise this. It's between our experience of the divine and our own soul. We can let go of what we think we need to prove or who we think we need to be in order to receive love, because we remember that we are love. Then we can stand in that truth, even through flames. Oh, that's very interesting, since we've just been talking about the fire energy there. Marguerite is a courageous truth teller, and the truth of her experience is that love alone can free us, not the love another might give us, not the love of family or of friends. All of this is powerful and significant, but the true source of love for us is in the fact that we are a soul, and that the soul is in union with the divine. It is one and the same. She reminds us when we've forgotten that love is the essence of who we are, and that true love is found within. Marguerite says love has no beginning, no end and no limit, and I am nothing except love. This is a time to own and to know this truth more fully. It is the most profound and radical act we can ever take, knowing the love we already are. So her soul voice meditation is, how can I feel the love that I am more deeply? And the intention is, love is divine and I am nothing except love. And I think that's a really good place to finish the reading. And we actually had the love card yesterday as well, so there does seem to be a bit of a kind of theme going on here. For anybody who watched my tarot reading yesterday, it ended on the angel Zaphael, which is all about love as well, so that's very interesting. And that's really, I think, what we're trying to get back to, that's that same source of energy. So I'm going to finish the reading here and say thank you very much for being here and for listening to what I have to say. Again, I apologise for it being late, but it is still relevant, and it is going to take us up to the new moon, but even beyond that as well. The energies are big at this time. So for those of you who have enjoyed this reading and want to help support my channel in any way, the best way you can do that is to like my channel, thumbs it up for me, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so that you can also tap that bell and get the videos as and when I put them out. I'm still just doing the new and the full moons at this time. There is a playlist on my channel as well where you can go and have a look, and if any of the titles jump out at you and make sense to you and you feel like you resonate with what it's saying, then take it as your reading at that time, because there's no dates or the times on my readings, because I think it's irrelevant really. It doesn't matter, it's just whenever that energy is happening to you at any particular time. So please have a look at my playlist, and also if you're interested in finding out more about some of the other more unusual energies that I talk about, my previous readings will go more in depth into where they come from and what they're about as well, so it's worth kind of looking back historically as well. And so also comment if you feel like it. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think, and also share this video with those who you think are of a like mind and might also be interested in hearing what I have to say at this time about what is taking place in this crazy world that we're all trying to make some sense out of at this time. And so with that being said, I'm going to say thank you very much. Please take really good care of yourselves at this time and anybody else around you who you can, and stock up on everything that you need at the moment. And hopefully I'll see you again next time.